Hello, Bravs. We're back with Billy Shakespeare by William Peter Blatty. And we shall read out of the trodden copy. I believe we're on tape 4. Tape 4? Where is it, tape 3? No, it's definitely tape 4. Tape 4. I have just undergone an experience the likes of which beggars the imagination. As I faded into the room tonight, blinding lights were turned upon me, and there commenced such a chattering of machine guns and babbling of voices that it near harrowed up my soul. Over a dozen men in berets and olive drab uniforms were bisecting me with bullets. Couldn't harm me, of course, but I'm still shaking. I transmigrated back instanter and located Benny, who's extremely analytical about preternatural occurrences. I explained to him what had happened. Do you have any enemies? He asked finally. The Baconians, I ventured. Oh, don't be an ass, Will, he snapped. They don't carry firearms. It's all very well for you to say, I sulked. You weren't there. There, he mimicked. You keep saying there. Where the devil is there? I don't know. You don't know, he echoed in a flat monotone. No. His brow was a book in which one might read matters gleep, and he eyed me in silence. Not an eyelash flickered. And when at last he spoke, it was in an oddly muffled voice. Did it have a seacoast? He asked. I don't know, I muttered again. I muttered quickly. I wasn't being sucked into that one again. You mean you transmigrated without researching it first? Prodded Ben a little irritably, and damn it, I came to you for advice, not another bloody lecture, I erupted. 10 men with guns blasting away at me, and all right, he shouted over me. Now let's start acting like grown men and get to the facts. Where in hell do you think you were? A wood near Spain. A wood near Spain. Rip torn, I mumbled. What? Nothing. It was the way he said it. Benny eyed me severely. Now look, Will, are you going to tell me about the Unites again, Ben, eh? Are you going to? All I want to know is what makes you think you were in Spain, he roared. I told him quietly about the beard and some snatches of words from the girl. Ben rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Describe the beard again, Will. I described him. It was one of my more lurid descriptive passages. Benny's eyes were hoods. I think you were in Latin America. Latin, I whined. Always harping on Latin. Oh, shut up. Now listen. Go back to that room right now, and if there's anyone still in there, just smile real friendly and say, Buenos dias. Are you mad? Drake would. William, he shouted. I knew that look and held my tongue. Now look, he continued softly. The key to this situation is communication. You must speak to them in a language they understand. Listen, you're telling me that to me? Did I write Hamlet in Danish? Did? Billy. I transmigrated back to the room, said Buenos dias, and was accorded another salvo of gunfire for my pains. I flashed back to Ben. What should I say next time? Jesus loves me? I told him what had occurred. He puffed up like an owl and looked wise. Then he deflated again. Look, Will, he said softly, why not give it up? We know you wrote them. Does Drake? What? Never mind. Don't go back. It's the principle of the thing. Nonsense, he snorted. Buenos dias, I parried. Okay, sighed Ben. Go on back. But this time say, Cuba si, Yankee no. Cuba si, Yankee no? Yes. What does it mean? Never mind. But, trust me on this one, will you, Billy? Say it again. Cuba si, Yankee no. Cuba si, Yankee no. Very good. I transmigrated, but I was back in a flash. I forgot, I told Ben sheepishly. Say it again, eh? Cuba si, Yankee no. Cuba si, Yankee no. Bravo. Listen, you won't tell me what it means? About time you did your own research. I faded, reappeared in the room, and quicker than thought roared, Cuba si, Yankee no. The effect was magical. A staccato burst of machine gun fire ceased instanter, and the men in olive green gaped at me open mouthed. So did the beard and the girl, who were now present and in uniform. She looked different in clothes. I dare say I looked as usual to her. The beard edged suspiciously toward me and then gabbed something in what I took to be nervous, excited Spanish. I drew myself up coolly, or as coolly as possible considering my nakedness, and said, Would you have the common decency, please, to repeat that in a language I can understand? It was a rock. The beard's eyebrow lifted dangerously, and his men, murmuring, hefted their weapons. The beard hushed them with the wave of his cigar. Then he eyed me wildly. Who you are, he croaked. Now we were getting somewhere. It is I, Billy Shakespeare. Who? I could have killed him. Shakespeare, I repeated. Shakespeare. Yes, William Shakespeare? His eyes narrowed to slits. From the CIA? From the 16th century, I bawled. For long moments thereafter, we eyed one another in mutual bafflement. Then the beard folded his arms. Shakespeare, he breathed. It was certainly no worse than Shakespeare. I stood stock still, fearful lest any sudden movement panic him. I had this funny feeling that all I had to do was cackle, and he would have dropped dead on the spot. But then he surprised me. He padded cautiously to within a yard of me, then suddenly jabbed his cigar through my chest. Madre de Dios, he gasped and blessed himself. I was aching to suggest, angels and ministers of grace defend us, but the instant I opened my mouth, he stepped quickly backward and said, Asperitas. Then he whipped out his revolver and fired a full clip through me. I wish you wouldn't do that, I grumbled. It's damn silly, and a nuisance. He hurled his revolver through me and then whimpered piteously, thrusting out his arms like Iago on the verge of saying, Who, me? What you want from me, the beard moaned emotionally. Look, I said, ignoring the whimpering and the side-to-side swaying of his head. It's very simple. I just want permission to use your tape recorder, bruv. And when I'm through, I want you to turn the tapes over to humanity. Publish them and stuff. He fell to his knees, blubbered, and made strange animal noises. It wasn't getting us anywhere. Listen, I said, I'm on the side of good. I moved to him with the intention of proving myself harmless, and that, as Jimmy would say, blew the entire bit. He scuttled from the room like an electrified crab, not even bothering to rise, and the others followed hard upon. The girl threw a backward glance at me from the door, and then slammed it shut. So here we are, back together again. Charming, eh? I didn't know what will come of all this. I don't know what will come of all this. This beard has a lunatic glittering in his eyes that likes me not. Unpredictable as lice. Know what I mean? My luck, of course. A century of striving to break through, and I materialize in bedlam. I can hear that grinning bastard Marlowe now. Nice trip, Billy, baby. See any shows? Sometimes I think I should have listened to my father. So what was wrong with selling gloves? Hath not a glover eyes? If you prick him, doth he not bleed? Merchant of Venice. Maybe I should have listened to my mother. God help me. Speaking of mothers, it is imperative that we leap quickly to a little chat about Hamlet. I doubt that much more time is left me. Not the way things have been going. Even as I speak, the beard is doubtless readying infernal engines. Come, Cos, to Hamlet, and if I hear so much as one sniveling grunt about Oedipus complexes, I can promise you some fairly nasty juju. And that rather quickly, honestly. Judging from the notions of your so-called scholars, one gathers that only a psychiatrist can explain why, in such a scene, I have written, enter a messenger, or even excellent omnis, what... I can't turn the page. What sucking claptrap, what bullfrogging noise, what bastard arse logic. Let me put it this way, bruv. It took me considerably less time to write Hamlet than it would take one of your scholars to compile a bibliography of works about Hamlet, and all because Hamlet delays in his revenge. Is the delay that difficult to understand? Well, the groundlings certainly understood it because it played, dummies. It played. Laughs in all the right places. Know what I mean? That's how you can tell when they're with it. Laughs in the right places. Comic relief. Look, if Hamlet's motivation weren't as complicated and subtly psychological as you've made it out, why, by the time the groundlings had their first foggy clue as to what was going on up there, the final curtain would have been drawn down. Pardon, it's 3:37 in the morning. What do you expect, Kelsey Grammer? Shakespeare himself. What could have been worse? 9th century Danish? Leave off your damnable complexes. Hamlet delayed for one reason only. The fact that he had taken his revenge immediately. I would have had one act play, and who was going to wait 2 hours in the rain for that? Well, I'll tell you who. The bloody demolition crew waiting to chop down the bloody theater for bloody firewood. That's who. So there I was, stuck with this mangy, antiquated plot from an old play. I needed the delay, but the problem was how to make it reasonable and not contrived, and it had to be something up to date, something my audience could swing with. As Jimmy says, the answer was simple. It was a phenomenon then peculiar to our times, the angry young man. Think you've got the patent on that one? Well, let me tell you something, Jack. We invented the angry young man, and Marlowe was the original. The university wit turned sour by the spectacle of real life outside the ivory tower. Happens all the time. Confront youthful idealism with the mottled spectacle of life as it really is, and whammo, you've got yourself a cynic like Hamlet. Look, suppose you were 19 years old and you just found out that your mother is a slut, your uncle is a murderer, your father is in hell for untold crimes, your girl has just sent you a Dear John letter, and your mother and your father's killers have just decided that they were made for each other. Now, how would that grab your pious ideas? In your day, Hamlet would become either a rapist, a tire stealer, or a Baconian. So now we have a cynical Hamlet, and now we have a very simple motivation for the delay. Smart college boy. Comes home bubbling with ideas and illusions. Everyone around him suddenly turns Fink, and when the society of which these Finks are a part, and in his eyes, all now turns to him and says, listen, the code says you're supposed to kill the king. It's customary, noblesse oblige, tradition and all that, a part of Hamlet. The cynical part says, are you kidding, fellows? And this is the part of him that delays, the part that feels that in a meaningless world there can be no meaning in a killing of revenge. And then, too, there would be the problem of explaining it all to Mother. Naturally, this inner conflict takes its toll of Hamlet. He knows what they taught him on the playing fields of Wittenberg. Was that Wittenberg? That one should always severely reprimand the murderer of one's father. But he can't work up the steam, the emotion to propel him to his revenge, so he invents tricks to help him work up a good hate against Claudius, like the mousetrap scene. That was a masterstroke on my part, brovs, filled in a good 8 pages. Listen, you think it was easy to get 3 acts out of a plot that should have ended 10 minutes after opening curtain? You there, you in the flowered hat. What? Was Hamlet really insane? How the devil do I know? I inherited that business from the original, and it afforded me a plenitude of rags or gags, and lots of filler. It was also good for suspense, because you never knew what the hell was going on. Look, don't ask questions, just enjoy. Oh, why do I even bother? These tapes will probably never get beyond this room. Another fruitless journey for Margaret. Aha, who comes? Tape 5 comes, bruv, but not today. Goodbye, bruv. Goodbye.